All right. Welcome to the Rocket Launcher Podcast, episode 68. I am your host, Supreme King, and joined with me, as always, is my co-host, and his name is...
It's your guy Omazis.
How you doing on this raining morning? Rainy
Man,
morning.
I'm doing better than Will, but we're not gonna go there. I'm doing great, man. I've
You cancel
been
it. All
I've
right.
been, I've been playing. I'm gonna eventually get y'all some footage, but I've been playing that game Sea of Stars.
Okay.
It has just got my full attention. It is a great game, great RPG. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. On the heels or right after the Friday the 13th, I guess I was going to include some of the beginning footage of when I was playing Resident Evil 2. That's what's on the screen. So we a day off, but that's okay. Here's in the horror-ish type of I don't know, horror, I guess, in that category, in the feeling of it, I guess. I don't know how to say it, but here's some horror footage. You can see me panic a few times because I didn't know what I was doing at the very beginning of the game. It's quite hilarious. But yeah, man, we're gonna start this off. We're gonna actually jump right into it. I finally put out a solo video for anybody out there who stuck with me this long. I saw a comment, somebody gave me a nice comment. I appreciate the support. I try to put out more content. That's not the only one. I have like two more vids that I had that was, or ideas that I have for this week. But I didn't get the chance to record because I couldn't find certain props and stuff I was going to use for it. But that's okay. They're still going to come out, and I am going to try to roll things out a little bit more because I have like a schedule for YouTube now. But yeah, the start of this episode is going to be our final conclusion of this topic. Even though I said it on my solo video, I would like to end it with some of my co-hosts' thoughts on this situation. The Xbox Activision deal is finally over. 100% over. They're not pushing things back. I think the FTC attempted to push things back with a new court case, but couldn't get their stuff done in order in time. Like what they were trying to do would have happened like the week after they were cleared to finally like buy it, and so like why would Xbox wait? So they just went ahead and bought it, and so obviously this includes Call of Duty, but they have a big like hand in the mobile market now. Candy Crush, I guess, if people are familiar. I'm pretty sure you're familiar. World of Warcraft, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people familiar with that as well. And countless other stuff. So yeah, it's finally over. It finally happened. Did people die? No. Did the PlayStation audience like spontaneously combust? No. They'll be alright. And it maybe it's a spooky Friday the 13th for some of the hardcore, maybe. Not as bad as me sitting here getting ate by everybody on the screen, as you can see. I got ate by everybody as I was trying to run out. Yeah, see, they was all smacking me, knocking me over. You see that, man? I was rusty, dog. I was rusty. But yeah, the deal is done. PlayStation first player, I think, or maybe Nintendo, however you look at it. How do you feel about this deal, man? Does it affect you? How does it make you feel?
It doesn't affect me yet. Like I mean, it's fine. Like I'm happy that it's finally done. Like they move forward with the deal and it's not just constantly being held back. So we can just move past it. Like like it's not like anything that comes out for like Xbox. I still have a PC and it'll probably go there, so I'll be fine. I'll be able to get anything that I still want to play. It's fine. It's cool. Like I said, right now it's not affecting me. And hopefully, like quality, of course, either like remains or goes up. Right? Maybe it's even better now that they got the Microsoft funding behind it. So I'm fine with it. I'm just happy that it's like done finally.
What I was saying before, with like what you just mentioned, the Microsoft funding, I would imagine some of the IPs can get moved from under Call of Duty, and you can see some stuff get revived, or at least
nice.
the studios get a chance to work on something new. That's what I was saying before.
which is also nice.
That's what I want to see the most. Because I feel like Call of Duty, so Modern Warfare 3 is going to do big numbers, obviously. It's Modern Warfare 3. But like what's gonna happen with like that long list of like stuff that I showed, like it was about 30 other IPs there, a lot of stuff that's just old, like Guitar Heroes, for example. It's like, could they bring that back with a whole plastic guitar for anybody who liked that? Or like, you know, another Spyro game and Crash game. Well, Crash is kind of already doing stuff, but are we going to see a proper Spyro game at this point? Are we going to see maybe a new line of a Tony Hawk game? Tony Hawk still seems a little up in the air for me because I'm like, how do you own Tony Hawk? Like, I don't know. Maybe
They own the, not the name, they own the IP, but like just work with him again.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, so again, you know, I'm not really in Call of Duty games like that, so that's fine. But I would like to see some other stuff revived. That would be great.
Yeah. I think it would happen. The main thing that I think should be a no-brainer is they resurrect practically the entire catalog and just dump it on Game Pass and do the FPS boost, do the HD up to 4K enhancement that they've done with a lot of their backwards compatibility stuff. They have no reason not to do it. Because Xbox, all the way to the OG Xbox to now, you know, that's a bunch of systems there and stuff, a lot of stuff that came out on that system as well. So it'll be there. And if they were able to like throw out all those back compat games at one time, it was a point where they were just like, oh, here's a random update. And it was just like, here's 72 games, here's 90 some games. It was like, how are you able to do all of that at one point? And it was like, if they can do that, I would love to see like the entire Call of Duty catalog, just so you can go in there and play all the campaigns. If you missed any of them, Call of Duty had a big budget for a lot of their campaigns anyway, where some of the cutscenes and stuff really looked good already. But if you can boost it and boost the frame rate and everything, that would be a huge transformative thing to do for some of those games, and then preserve them online, and then Game Pass is awesome. You know, if they can do it. I think they can do it. Because like I said, they did all them other stuff. Like, they could do it if they don't have to go and ask permission, you know, to do those games. Because some of them were not able to be backwards compatibility games because they would have had to ask permission, or the studio closed altogether. And so that's a gray area where they're like, okay, we're just not going to, you know, mess around with. But if you own, like, Activision's huge. Like, there's a lot of other stuff there. So if you own it, you know, we can go find everything and put it on Game Pass and on the digital storefront, possibly on Steam if they can do it as well. And then the games are preserved. You have a bunch of stuff that might have been stuck on old systems that just are now preserved. You know, you don't have to go through emulation. So that's what I want. Are we going to get that? Probably not overnight, but I think we're going to at least get that. Outside of like the new stuff, but they still got some good stuff that's cooking already. And a lot of stuff that's already on Game Pass right now. I think Forza just released, but right before Forza you had Starfield. The one that I was excited about is actually Liza P. It's not really their game, but Liza P was hot. Liza P was really hot. I was not expecting it to be hot like that. But yeah, the deal is done. I'm happy that it's over. And yes. Yeah, I think we can move forward. But there's a couple of things I did want to mention real quick, at least just for the Xbox section. Apparently Redfall finally got its 60 FPS update. Better late than never, I guess. I don't know. And then a lot of new little changes and bug fixes, I guess. So they didn't just leave it in the dirt. But nice. Yeah, I guess they did that, and then I believe they're still like updating a couple other things with Starfield, but you got a topic for Starfield. I actually saw this before, but we can go ahead and add that in there. What's going on with Starfield?
Yeah.
This super player.
So basically, some dude beat the game. Like, I don't know how else to describe that. But
Yeah,
part of the game, is surveying planets, looking at fauna, floral stuff.
yeah,
Very similar to No Man's Sky, but like that was all No Man's Sky was for a while. Where that's an added part of the game.
right.
Well, he has surveyed all 1,694 planets across 120 like solar systems. And in order to do that, he needed to land on 1,441 of the planets to like collect data. I guess for either some of them, you could scan above it, or they share like fauna and flora and things like that. So it's like you scan 2 planets, and it's like, oh, that's the stuff that's on this third one, things like that. But he fully surveyed 1,694 planets. Some of the planets, he said, due to bugs and stuff, like some of the planets were not able to be fully surveyed. So every possible planet you could survey, that's what he did. He said as soon as he realized you could just do that, that's what he spent his time doing.
So he couldn't wait for all the mods and stuff. He just went on and did everything. Well, good for him, I guess.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Over 200 hours on the
Man.
game, and around 180 of those hours were spent surveying.
All right. I wanted to do maybe like 4 or 5. I would do a bunch, but not. And I never thought I would do the whole thing though. That's pretty cool if he was able to do it. Somebody's got to do it, I guess. Somebody's got to do it, I guess.
Yeah, so what was interesting about No Man's Sky, one of the things that I liked, is that if you first discover something, you can name it. However, its original name is whoever was like the first person to ever discover it, like in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So when I first played the game, there was a few things that like no one had ever discovered, so I was able to name it.
Oh,
Either
nice.
like plants or animals. So it's like even though other people can have their own names in their system, if you look at its original name, it's whatever I called it, and everything for across people who would see it. So that was one of the cool features in there. I wonder if this guy was able to name stuff after scanning it, or did it already have a name? That's something I'd be interested in.
So you could have probably named it like, follow me on Twitter or such and such. Or,
things like that.
Look up my mixtape and then left a link, and then like everybody from No Man's Sky could see it. That's kind of a thing. But Starfield, Starfield to me, I think is still in its earliest stages for what they're trying to do. Like it's because in some cases I feel like it's still a little bare bones when you talk about a lot of these planets being just like half empty, and then there's like you find like a monster-ish kind of thing. I think in a few years it's going to be crazy when you think about everything that you could probably mod on there. You might even need to have like one whole PC just dedicated to it because of like the gig space that's going to be on it. There are some people who kind of pushing back on that too, because they were just like, maybe this like a game that's depending on mods is not a good game. Some people might say, which
that is an argument.
I can understand that to an extent. I felt like this one was one of those games where they were expecting it though.
Right. So I think and onto your point, there is a difference between, I guess, making room for people because expecting mods and relying. But I haven't had a chance to play Starfield.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, if I feel like there's one thing if it has like a solid story, solid fun, and then like of course there's 1,694 planets. So if like, I don't know, 300 of them or something like that are like detailed.
I would have rather it been like exactly 100 and it was just like so detailed it didn't make no sense. Yeah,
that's what I wanted. And like I was saying originally, I think I said a while back, it was like 50 to 100 planets, like fully detailed.
Yeah,
as opposed to 1,500 planets bare bones. But like, if they had left it where it was like, a good chunk of them that are easily accessed, you don't have to keep like searching for them, right? Are like fully detailed, and then the other planets are left for people to freely kind of mod. I feel like that's better than like you have the story and it's short and then just everything else has to be modded. Like I feel like there's two different things there.
Yeah.
However, yeah, I still would have preferred that. Like 100 fully realized planets, but that's okay.
Remnant 2 footage is on the screen right now. There is a topic that I wanted to talk about that's related to this, but we're gonna get to it in a second. I do want to just mention or just wrap up the Xbox thing with your other topic. So what's going on with just Blizzard in general? Why are you saying people are mad at Blizzard? What's happening?
So Blizzard decided in Overwatch to do kind of like a crossover with Diablo.
Yeah.
So the focus was like, yo, you can get this Diablo skin, blah 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 blah. And when a lot of people was like, cool, and they went to go do it, it turns out the skin is lumped in to an Ultimate Battle Pass bundle. So if you want to play as the Queen of the Succubi from like Lilith from Diablo, you have to pay $40.
Dang.
So it costs $40 to get
That's
this
almost
bundle.
a whole game. That's a whole game.
Yeah,
especially one of the indie games.
Yep. So you can either get a full game for $40.
Yeah.
You can get a full indie game. You can get a used game, right? Like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is like 30. And you can get that, or you can get this pass bundle so you can get the skin for Overwatch 2.
Okay. Well,
That's
I
your
would go
option.
for the game more than I would go for skin.
Like people were saying, you could just get like a few meals with that. Like they're like, "Are you kidding?"
Yeah, or gas, or a full tank of gas. I might go for a full tank of gas.
Somebody even said, $40 could get you a few months of Game Pass. Like, Game Pass for $40.
Shout out to that, man. Like, I got a bunch of them trials that I'm gonna be pulling out of these like physical games that I have. Then I also have like a 3-month thing from like the Rogue Ally that I'm still kind of like I'm sitting on. Like I didn't want to cash it out yet. But Game Pass is hot right now. It is so tempting to just like buy a year at one point. Like it's very tempting because I know what they're gonna have coming up. Which shout out to Nintendo. I don't think I have anything on here for Nintendo really, but they had a whole bunch of stuff that was leading into like March or April. If we looked at that last direct and everything. And it looked like they were going to like, feed their audience pretty well. But like Game Pass quite literally has the same kind of lineup between Persona, the Yakuza series or Like a Dragon series, and then some of their first party stuff and some of the other third party games that they were just going to add on there. There's a main event game every month, basically, and I was just like, man, like I'm so wanting to play Liza P, but I don't really want to buy it knowing that it's there. It's just I want to get through my backlog, which includes some Resident Evil. But yeah, Game Pass is on my radar right now. But I think we are done with the Xbox stuff. We can move forward. It kind of ran over a little bit, but real quick before I jump into the other topic that kind of goes with Xbox. So Remnant on the screen, Remnant 2, great game so far. One thing about it is a co-op-ish game or based game, I guess, up to 3 players. And it's a Souls-like game, but I found out that Lords of the Fallen, this is a hot game right now too. I don't know if it's as hot as Lies of P, but it just released. The market to me is kind of starting to get oversaturated with Souls games, but at the same time, I'm not going to complain about releases if they're good. But I found out that Lords of the Fallen can be played from start to finish as a co-op game without you having to like rebring the person back in, because I felt like the experience with Code Vein was sort of taken away from us. And what we were trying to do with Code Vein is confirmed we can do it with Lords of the Fallen. So I'm very excited about that. Probably something you and me would not get around to right away anyway, because Lords of the Fallen did come out at $70. I don't really believe it's is worth more than Elden Ring, but yeah, like Elden Ring is a little bit different. You got to basically jump through the hoops with on one foot, basically, just to get somebody in there. But Lords of the Fallen didn't do that. You create your. It's almost quite literally the same as how Code Vein started, as well as Remnant 2, where you get in there, you start your character or create your character from scratch. You go through the tutorial, go through the first tutorial boss, then you go to the first checkpoint. At the first checkpoint, that's when you can invite somebody in, and you and that person can quite literally play that full game, start to finish.
And both gain experience and progression and stuff.
Yeah, so the progression, so it starts off. Yeah, like you get to keep your progression, and your progression. I believe if somebody was farther ahead, I believe it says that it rebalances it depending on whose world you're in. So the stronger person going into the weaker person's world, the stronger person's going to get weaker, basically, to balance out to that person. But if you guys start from the beginning, start to finish, you will be even all the way through, similar to Remnant 2. And then you can go through, you can fight each boss all the way through, and then, you know, level up the same way all the way through, and then you can still take your leveled up character and go back into your own game. And so I thought that was pretty cool. This game did just come out for Friday the 13th. People had the game earlier, and I was watching people play it. It still does look like it's somewhat of a Souls game. Like, I don't want to say rip off. I think that's not fair, but like, like it's what you would have expect. Like if you wanted more Elden Ring, if you wanted more Dark Souls, is what you would expect. But I don't think it's, honestly, I don't think it's bringing anything new to the Souls genre. I think it's just doing the same of what you see from all the others. But it's not bad. It's not bad. It's just, it's more of the same. Like based on what I've seen so far, it's on my radar. I done bought almost all the other ones. I want to get this one. I want to get Liza P. Liza P though is I believe a lot shorter. That's why I was just like more hesitant on. I think the average person is supposed to be able to beat it under 10 hours. So I was like, I don't know if I really want to buy it, or I would rather just play on Game Pass. But typically a third-party game only lasts in Game Pass for like a year, so I can't wait too long. But yeah, so Lords of the Fallen, I just wanted to give it its props, because this is something that is big on my list. I remember adding it in like my games that I would look at on like my 20 indie games or something. I'm pretty sure this was in there. I've wrote it down, and I remember recording something for it. But I had no idea at the time that it was co-op, or had co-op abilities. It's not just that, it also has the ability of the PvP where somebody can come raid you and do all of that. Same thing from Souls games. So you can set that up. You can set it up where you can have it password protected, so only you and a specific person can actually play co-op without anybody just jumping in the way we had somebody jump in when we was playing, I think, World War Z. Oh yeah. It was just a dude just standing there. I'm like, who's that? But yeah. So I'm excited about this. Do you want to play this, or were you excited about this? Was this on your radar at all?
It was on my radar, but I'm not like the heaviest of like, you know, Souls players, and because I still have like a few other ones to go to, it wasn't like at the top of my list.
Right.
But now that I know like that it's co-op, it's moved up a bit.
Yeah, like I didn't know it was called until last minute. I was probably going to play it. I have I already have, I think it was Thymesia. I think I said it right. Thymesia was the other Souls game from like, I think early last year. Wolong Fallen Dynasty, I believe, was on Game Pass. I don't know if it's still there. I have not played that one yet, but that's another one. It seems to be a lot of Souls games that's coming out. Do you think it's starting to get oversaturated, or do you think we got room for one or two more?
Like it's oversaturated. However, I think it's relatively still good for the Dark Souls type of player, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you play through Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, you play through Elden Ring, and I know people who've played through it like multiple times and multiple like classes and runs and things like that. So it doesn't seem like they necessarily need new mechanics for those that are heavy into the genre. So it's just here's a new story and things like that, and new lore. So that's pretty cool. I feel like for somebody else like me, I would need some ranged weapons and this ranged combat focus. Like that's what I would prefer. Like each one having like here's the mechanic that like this is why you should play this one, right? As opposed to here's another. I do think it's oversaturated, but at the same time, look how many first-person shooters when that was oversaturated. So I'm not bothered by the oversaturation just yet.
First-person shooters is in its own little like lane to the point where it's almost gaming. Period. Like you could say it's gaming, and then there's first-person shooters. It's almost like that.
Yeah.
To the point where we didn't went oversaturated a long time ago. But if you are somebody who's new to Souls games, like a lot of people became a Souls player after Elden Ring, that was like their first introduction. If you started with Elden Ring, you are eating good right now because you're getting a whole bunch of new ones. You started with the game of the year, and then you're getting a bunch of new ones, and then you can actually go back and start playing the quote unquote harder ones and really get like test your skills out and everything. And in the middle of that, it's like you start with Elden Ring, and then as you're going back, there's stuff coming out, forward, right? And it's there's so many of them now. So yeah, I guess for them they're eating good. Everybody else who's like probably don't like it, maybe you're rolling your eyes, or maybe you're just like okay, I want to play something else.
Another one?
Yeah, another one. I could see that.
Or I can imagine, like, if, like, the story just, like, seems so good, and then you find out it's a Souls game, so it's like, well, then... Because I know there is some people, for sure, who's like, I'm not trying to play a game to get frustrated, and, like, Souls games are going to make you frustrated, right? So if you're the type that just, like, you want the story version, like, you don't want to sit there and just constantly die over and over. Like even from that boss in Remnant that took us like 4 hours to beat and everything. So, some people just don't want to do that. Like they want to go through, figure out the strategy, but still be able to like beat the boss the first time, maybe the second time, and not have to keep going through. You're not going to want these Souls games.
Elden Ring really hurt a lot of people too, though, because there's a lot of people who are like, they are on the bandwagoner type games. They could probably afford to play certain things. And it's like, I'm playing because everybody else is playing. And then there's the streamers who kind of don't have a choice if they really want this to be like their career. And so Elden Ring was exposing some people's skill level and taking people out, and people were like probably frustrated with it. I remember there was a lot of like people who made their videos and stuff which turned into a whole nother thing for a couple people, all because they didn't like Elden Ring and stuff. And it's just like now Elden Ring has spawned, or just From Software has like, they've created this genre that really expanded to all these other developers. And what's funny is like they turned back around and made Armor Core. They just moved on. Everybody else is still trying to make a Souls game. But they are supposed to come out with some Elden Ring DLC at some point. They promised it, so we're gonna see that. But yeah, overall, I'm looking forward to Lords of the Fallen a lot more. I didn't think it was gonna be probably a co-op game, but I would rather wait and play it that way than to play another solo one if I'm going to run through the entire like Souls genre. Basically, it's not, because I even bought some of the bad ones. I bought some of the bad ones because they were like really cheap. I think there's one called Dolem, if I'm not mistaken, which was like outright terrible. but it looked like your character was like in this Power Ranger outfit, and I was like, all right, that's cool. It was like $10, $10 physical. So I was like, all right, that's good enough. I'll try it, even though I heard it was terrible. It got rated like 3 or 4 out of 10 or something. I was like, I don't care. Let's try it. But yeah, so looking forward to Lords of the Fallen. It is a game that I guess was, I didn't know too much of it until I was doing some research on it, but apparently it was like one of those development hell kind of games that people will say is development hell, because it started off, it's actually a remake.
Yeah, the Lords of the Fallen.
That I guess, like, they had one studio, then they got canceled, and another studio that they got, it's like this, it was on its 3rd or 4th run, and then it finally came out. And so yeah, they asked for the full 70, and some people, paid the 70, but hey, I'm looking forward to it if it's co-op. I do still want to play, I guess, Evil West right before it, and some other ones. Okay. So it'll be a while before we get to this. We got to knock that price down. I'm sorry, we got to knock that price down. I don't know.
I also don't know if I have it in me to do 2 Souls games back to back.
I feel some type of way for this thing to cost more than Elden Ring. I just feel some type of way about that. I feel like it shouldn't cost more than Elden Ring, but yeah, like Liza P, I think is like 50. I don't think, or no, Liza P is 60. I'm sorry, but yeah, no, I don't know about that. But I'm glad that it came out. I'm glad for the people who's enjoying it. I do want to jump back to a quick topic. I don't know how long we need to speak on this, but it was related to some of what Xbox was doing, which is just the Activision, like, not Activision, acquisitions that they were doing. But apparently, I don't know if you heard of this, but I don't know if this is a rumor or if this was true, but it sounded like Disney, of all people, want to get into the gaming space. They were looking to purchase EA. Did you hear about this?
I didn't.
They want to purchase EA. I don't know if EA is up for sale. It reminds me of like when we heard of the email from Phil Spencer saying he wanted to purchase Nintendo. I don't know if it's like that kind of situation, but they want to purchase EA, and EA includes a lot of big games. There's a lot of big business there because they got deals with everybody with their service and stuff. So, do you think this should happen? Disney, of all people, no.
I don't need. So Disney's already owns enough, and
yeah,
sometimes they can tend to be annoying. I don't know. I just don't feel like they need to buy another. Well, you know what? It ain't like EA's doing great with their sports games. Maybe with someone else. And that's the thing. It's if Disney takes. Oh, I don't want them to take over because I don't feel like they care enough. Right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like if Disney buys it, it's just going to be like, here's some more funding to do the same thing. Right?
Funny enough, we got a Disney property on the screen, Marvel Avengers, which was delisted.
Yep.
Yeah.
That tells you there's that. But like, it's just I don't know. I feel like I want someone who like we care about, which I know EA does a lot more than just football, but it's like we care about football or we care about gaming. We have the money, we're gonna buy EA, right? Like I want that because the football games, they're just bad. Like each year, where people were even upset that like Madden 24 was just the patched version of Madden 23. Like every bug that was in 23, they just didn't fix it, and then they just released 24, which is just a fixed version of 23 at full price. And even then, they're still constantly using old models for stuff. They don't revamp the game. All of the money goes into only the part of the game that gets you your money back. It's like, I don't want that. I want things fixed. I want it better. Like, that's what I want it better. So I need a company who actually cares about the games to take over.
Yeah, it was just mentioned out there. I don't know if they were in talks. I don't know. EA still seems big enough where I don't see why they would be bought. but that was an odd thing to say. It to me was more odd than the Xbox Nintendo situation, because Disney is not, they don't have too much of a history in gaming. They just have some franchises that have games. So for them to attempt to come in, it's like I really wonder, like, how much money is being made in gaming on the top level, because it don't trickle down to developers. We've already established this, but it's definitely
On the
must
top
be a
level,
big,
it's great. It's
yeah,
great. They make a lot of money. People like, and if you notice, they're not saying we just want to buy a gaming studio. They
yeah,
specifically want the people who's like relatively mastered battle pass for longer, right? Like Fortnite has
yeah,
gotten it, but like Madden was the one that figured out how to get people to buy a full price game, then spend money in their ultimate teams, and then the following year buy the same game and do the same thing over and over and over again. So without them having to put in any effort. So they're like, well, that's the one we want to buy. Like it's
yeah.
very clear. They're not gonna make it
Well,
better.
I don't know how legit it is. Maybe it was just a rumor. I just know it came out and they said it. Um, but it does seem odd because I don't know. Disney's doing enough as it is. They're very much milking the MCU franchise. Funny enough for that to be on the screen. You would think they wouldn't have time to try to put anything into a gaming publisher, but they would have the money to do it. And I would imagine Xbox's acquisitions have to probably stop for a little while, because I could imagine if they, like I was saying before, they probably shouldn't try to do one in 2024, because if they do it might get auto denied because they like have bought so much, and it's like, well, you got away with this one, I don't think you're gonna get away with another one. Maybe in 2025, but if whatever they can't buy in 2024 gets bought by Disney, that just seems I don't know, it just seems strange. But I'll always say the same thing that I've said before, which is I don't care how much you cannibalize each other, as long as I don't have to pay more. Unfortunately, it looks like people are still trying to make me pay more, and it's like, well, all y'all had to do was just not do nothing. Y'all didn't have to do anything. Y'all could have just stayed the way y'all was. Don't try to make me pay more. Which might go into the next topic slightly. Well, it's not a topic. I think I'll just mention this because this kind of goes with some of the other practices with Disney. But apparently, CD Projekt Red, their devs have formed a union, and this was in response to, I guess there was like 2 or 3 rounds of like people getting laid off, and the remaining people, at least at this particular place, they somehow formed a union. I don't know how much detail it is into that, but maybe that might be something we might need to see in the industry a little bit, just to combat like all that's going on, because like outside of like the Bayonetta actress was outed as a liar, I guess, at one point, right? But it sounded like a lot of other people was getting the type of treatment she was claiming to get. It might not be $4,000 that they're getting and that's it, but it seemed like, well, once we push a game out, even if it's not finished, we're just gonna get rid of you after that. It's like, well, I don't know how that is. So unions might help the industry. I don't know. We'll see. But they have formed a union. CD Projekt Red, of all places, probably the developers needed it, because it was not really their fault altogether the way Cyberpunk released initially.
Oh yeah.
But
well, it was because they were told, get it out, like release it.
Yeah, so we'll see what's going on with that. But as far as the companies, they are, spending big money out here, and they're charging big money. So one of your other topics, you want to tell me about what is going on with the Fortnite skins. What's happening over here, man?
Speaking of, you know, you know what? They're doing fine. But basically, for Halloween month, Fortnite has added Michael Myers, Jack Skellington from Nightmare Before Christmas, and
Okay.
Alan Wake from Alan Wake 2.
Shout out to Alan Wake too, friend of
Yeah,
the
so.
channel, ish, kind of. Topic of the
Okay.
channel. I don't know about friend. Topic of the
Yeah,
channel.
yeah. Yeah, friend of the channel. Maybe we'll get him on at some point. But yeah,
That'd be
yeah,
interesting.
those three are gonna be coming to the game now. Along with like I guess a new mode or something like that.
Alan Wake 2, and along with a bunch of other games I'm gonna talk about towards the end of the podcast. That is set to come out in like 2 weeks.
Oh,
But yeah, like remember we're in October. Remember we was talking about before everything is jumping
yeah.
out in October. I don't have a full list, but I plucked a lot of stuff that was relevant. And when I plucked it out, it was out of like a bigger list, so I only wrote down half. So it was quite a lot of games that's coming out this month. So we'll get to it towards the end. But yeah, and then do you want to mention this now? What's going on with Lords of the Rings? You want to talk about it? What's happening?
Yes, sir. So, they Dalek, the company, they got accused of unethical labor. So I don't know why I'm laughing about
Gosh.
it, but apparently they exploited their young employees and interns and underpaid them,
Mm,
and like talked them into working late hours for no extra pay. And it was like, no, it's normal in the gaming industry. Like, if you want to make it here, then you're gonna have to get used to crunch. So practice here for get your experience. So when I guess you're out in the big world, because there was a bunch of young developers. So they were like, stay late, don't get paid, do this, do that. Created like an atmosphere of fear, as I was described. So I
okay.
imagine they're just like, oh man, well when you need those letters of recommendation and everything, I guess whatever we'll have to say, or something like that. Uh, which can be scary for like if you're trying to break out to the industry, then like you're being threatened to get blacklisted. So now you're
Right.
going to be doing all this extra. On top of that, after the game came out, bad, and the dude released like the apology statement, somebody revealed he also used AI to write that apology. Like it wasn't actually a sincere apology. He just
Man,
used
AI
AI.
is just crazy right now.
Oh,
It is just crazy. It's the stuff that people are able to do.
apparently Disney. That's another thing. In one of their movies, they just showed it. In one of the movies they just released, it was like a high school thing when they were like dancing, and in the stands they had a few AI people, like and they were looking all weird and just like clapping, but it was AI people in there. So already a thing.
I'll mention it because I don't think it was ever a topic that was mentioned before, but it was something you and me were into. The movie Brightburn.
Uh huh.
So it's confirmed that it will have a sequel, but
Yo.
yeah, apparently the script for it will be 100% written by AI somehow.
No, that's
So
not
I
good.
don't know how that's gonna work, but maybe we might see that in the future with like a lot of franchises where it's like, here's a movie that's not as big, but it's just there because we come out with too many movies a month. Maybe a bunch of them will start just almost producing themselves in a way, and
No,
then they just
I
go
don't want
grab
that at all.
somebody. So yeah, that's gonna be one of them. I don't know if it's one of the first, but it was one of them where that was mentioned. Like it's gonna be fully done by AI. I guess I don't know how
But
that
like,
works.
there's probably struggling writers out there to trying to get a job to get paid with something, just to like, sorry, we're gonna use this computer instead. Like that's trash.
Yeah, so it's a head scratcher the stuff that they're able to do. I don't know if anybody looked on their social media. There's this like big black guy AI thing where the big black guy is
Yeah,
fighting an alligator and pizza and
they've
all this
they're
stuff.
fine now. They put their differences aside, and now he's
It's
fighting a bear.
it's like a whole thing. And then I saw the Steve Harvey thing at one point.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, it's really coming out of nowhere, and they're just coming up with these like cartoonish high res like pictures of all this stuff going on, and it's not a problem yet. It's mainly been used for jokes, but I can imagine at some point it's going to cross into some other territories that are going to be a little spooky. Um,
Oh yeah,
but I guess
I'm
we can
sure it's already
mention,
there.
yeah. I think I want to mention this real quick as a topic before I go into the halfway point. Because we mentioned um studios and stuff cannibalizing each other, like unions being formed and people underpaid, but apparently Jim Ryan ain't the only one who quit, quote unquote quit, quote unquote probably fired behind the scene, but the Unity CEO also stepped down. This was the guy who well, not really him. I don't know if they can 100% blame it on him. I don't know, but before I'll set it up, because before we found out the backstory of this was they were going to charge money per install of their
Yep.
games from their engine. The main thing that was of note was the game Cult of the Lamb. That was the big one that everybody knew about. And then a really, really tiny game that I don't know too many people know about, but it is also a Souls-like game that is still technically in development, which is called Another Crab's Treasure. Is under their wing. So Souls players, you're eating well. They got a Nintendo version as well. So or this looks like it could be the Nintendo version, right? But every time you would install, it would charge the development teams like money for using that engine, which was kind of odd. I've never heard of that ever. That's almost like
we talked about a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, well, they caught their backlash, right? As they should. And so the main thing that happened with this is now the CEO of that Unity engine, he stepped down. So yeah, you want to tell us anything else?
What's upsetting me is I'm seeing things saying that like he stepped down demonstrating rare accountability for actions. I was like, he's still gonna get a severance package. Like he messed it all up.
Yeah.
No one wants to use Unity anymore. So now he's like, I'm gonna go ahead and like that's business. Like no, like I'm not.
I think Unity is gonna be quite frankly dead. It's because like with
people don't want to use it anymore.
Yeah, like PlayStation has value over Jim Ryan. Like ain't nobody about to leave PlayStation because Jim Ryan left. That would be absurd. But like with the Unity thing, there's no actual like there's no value to the engine like that. The engine that actually has a certain value, a certain name value, really is Unreal Engine. But people follow the games. They don't follow the engine behind the games. You will follow franchises all over the place if you really like the franchise. You know, similar to like maybe Call of Duty, people might follow Call of Duty to the Xbox ecosystem, but nobody's following Unity.
Only play games if they're built on Unity.
Yeah, that's not happening. So this is practically dead. I know them trying to get rid of the CEO is them trying to save face for the company, maybe.
Yeah.
But I think the engine is dead. I don't see any developer who's starting off fresh right now considering that engine. They're gonna go to any other one. There's plenty. They're gonna go to any other one and go and work on that. But this is them trying, but I don't know how far that's gonna go. We may not ever hear any more news from them again. But for me, I do appreciate the fact that if they're not going to charge anybody anything, then we should safely see Another Crab's Treasure come out at some point, and I do still want it.
Great. Yeah.
But I do think that might be their last big release, unless they got other stuff that's been worked on. Using that engine, I don't think anything else is really going to be worked on going forward. I think that's practically it.
To be honest, I don't really feel bad for him. It's almost pretty much like that's what you get for just being greedy for no reason. Yeah, like it's just you were fine. Then you just did this for zero reason, and now it backfired, and that's kind of what you get.
That's so strange. Like imagine somebody like Disney. Like imagine they got charged or something every time you put their DVD in your DVD player or something like it.
Right.
Like they wouldn't be Disney. They literally would not have been Disney at that point. It would not. They wouldn't have made it past the 90s with all those VHS tapes if they got charged every time somebody made a copy of it or something.
Right?
Like, it just it's silly. But yeah, we can move on. That was just something I just wanted to mention real quick. I guess we can go over the halfway point. This is where I go over like free games and sales. I don't really have sales, but I do have the free games coming from Epic Games, obviously, our unofficial sponsor. They have not sent me a check yet. I'm out here getting treated like Disney employees from the past, but that's okay. Yeah, but they have, a list of games that they give out for free. 2 of them that's available right now, all the way until October 19th. These games can be played at any time as long as you have your membership, I guess, or not really a membership, it's just a profile. You don't need to have your credit card to do any of these transactions to get the games. Once you go through, it's going to say $0, and then you kind of just have it on your profile, right? So the first one is Blazing Sails. I actually found out this is kind of like I want to say Sea of Thieves-ish game where you just kind of like playing in the, like, sink your battleship almost kind of thing. You're just playing in a boat, basically. So that's Blazing Sails. The other one was Cube Ultimate, which was like a collection of Cube games. QUBE, I think it's like an acronym, but those are available from now until October 19th. And then they're going to give you 2 more games from October 19th to the 26th. One of them is called Eternal Threads. And the other one, this one is a cool one. The Evil Within. A lot of people might know The Evil Within. That's not really a small game. That was Bethesda's take on like a Resident Evil style game. And it's right in time for Halloween, I guess. So you'll have until the 26th to get that. I already own this through on Xbox, but I'm going to get the PC version as well. And that is a Bethesda game. It plays like they had a vision of making it similar to what Resident Evil 4 and 5 was, like the original 4 and then 5, like that kind of play style. And then they have their own, Bethesda twists and stuff. Good game. It also has a sequel. I believe these were the creators who, after these 2 games, they said they did not want to make any more horror games, and then they wanted to do a different game, and then they came out with Hi-Fi Rush for Xbox. That was a big game back in January. Big surprise release, I believe, when they did that show. So yeah, this is the game they made before, and you can go claim that. Remember, if you don't have a PC, you can still claim the profile or claim all the games under your profile. And then when you do get a PC, they'll all be there once you log in. I still recommend the ROG Ally because it's a seamless transition and probably one of your cheapest ways to play right away. That's still kind of like what you're familiar with, like console wise, I guess. If you don't want to spend big money on like a 3090, 4090, any super GPUs that can't play Star Wars Fallen Order or whatever. But Survivor. They can't play it, but they can take all your money. Well, at least you get to, claim everything. So yes. Big game there. I'm really happy that they're still putting out like one big game a month, it seems, because I still feel like the game from last month, the Solstice, it was a big game. That was the one that was like an indie title that I was following, and it was brand new. I think it retails for like $40, and they kind of just gave it away there. So I'm like, yo. So Epic Games is still feeding the people. Shout out to them. And I guess we can move on. Bigger topics here right before we start to wrap things up, because I think it's gonna go kind of quick, but not that quick. PlayStation. Let's talk PlayStation for a second. We talked Xbox at the beginning. We can't leave out the rival. They're they are not backing down to acquisitions. They're like, you got an acquisition, we got a whole new system. We got well, I don't know. Is it new? I don't think it's new, but maybe it is to somebody. But I think this is the system that they wanted to come out with all along, but couldn't because they had the heating issues. I think I talked about this a long time ago. But the PlayStation 5 is like almost triple the size that it probably should be. It was initially supposed to be like similar to like internet modem size, and it's starting to look more like that now with what they have. They found a way to shrink this thing down. I think the only thing that's really new with it is that the plates have that strip down the middle where it's like a black line in the middle. I think that's new, but I think this was the size that they wanted in the beginning but couldn't, because I remember it was like reports that they were trying to keep quiet, but they were having like a 50% like fail rate of their systems because of it was overheating. And a big part of it was the SSDs, the external SSDs and stuff. And it was like, you got to wait for this list of SSDs, approved SSDs to put in there, which took a little while. And then they finally put them out there, but they did like a beta thing at one point, if y'all remember that. And then finally you was able to, put SSDs in there, but then you also had to have the heat sink, which is obvious because this thing was overheating at one point before it was released. It ended up being like almost a third of the size bigger so they could fit that giant fan on the side. And then they had liquid metal cooling, which is a first in PlayStation's history to put liquid metal cooling. And so they got the thing to actually work the way it was intended by spacing everything out, right? And then they got that, they put that out, and it was like, okay, here's the PS5. And I guess it worked. The problem then wasn't so much whether or not it would work. It was just, couldn't nobody get it. That was the problem. And then now, it's, to me, I feel like, well, we're doing somewhat of a disservice here, because I'm wondering, is it going to be available in stores, first of all? Because the last one never hit the shelves, basically. And apparently, so there's a lot of details with this, because to start off, they're saying that once the old version, so they've cut off production of the old version. Once they run out, you're only going to see this version from here on out. That's what they're saying. And I thought that was a little shocking, because the first version quite literally never hit the shelf, where it was just on the shelf, and I think with this and then the Xbox system, we could probably talk about that in a second, the one that leaked, I don't think they're calling these mid-gen refreshes. I think these are just somewhat replacing the base model. It's strange on PlayStation's side, because it's like you didn't have the other one in the stores. You had to call or go online. And then some of the other details that's coming out about it is like, it's finally giving you the 1 terabyte storage. I remember being upset about that. I was like, what's up with this custom? They were calling it a custom SSD and everything, but it was just like, why is it 826? Like, it was something like that, 826 gigs or something.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I'm like, why is it not a full terabyte? Like, I was mad about that. I really was. I was really mad. Like, how is this not a full terabyte? Well, now it is, but it comes with the cost of now, like, we've stripped away the stand altogether. Like, I think both models do not have the vertical stand anymore. And so that's going to cost extra. Now, with the Super Tower model, like, it came with the stand, right? And then the stand was used both for the vertical and horizontal, right? And it looked like, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there should be a stand included for just horizontal, but it's separate from the vertical. Am I right on that, or is there's no stand at all?
All the pictures I see for it coming out, there is a stand for it vertical because all the images are always vertical.
Yeah, and so the stand is sold separately now, right? And so the stand is costing how much? Is it $30? $29.99? Is that what we're saying? I think that's what I saw. What's interesting about it though is like, so that's gonna cost you extra. So and then we're also finding out the digital models across the board should be $50 more now. So they snuck that in, and
Yep.
I guess they feel like they can get away with it. I don't know. Maybe the audience out there is not going to hammer on them as much as they would if it was the disc-based model, but I don't think that they should have increased the price there, even though nobody's going to talk about it that much. That particular model, though, wasn't really widely available like that. If you remember, like throughout like the past 2 years, it was always the disc model that was like in stores for like 100 versions or 100 copies of them at a time, and then like it was like people had like only 100 or 200 copies a week, and they were sold out so fast. It was like per store or something, but you didn't really see the digital model out there that much. But now it's $50 more across the board. I don't think that they should have done that, but that's kind of crazy that that's $50 more now, and then you don't get the stand. And so
I'm not seeing anything about the stand, but what I am seeing is that, let's see. Oh, hold on. Want to stand the PS5 Slim vertically, it'll cost you an extra $30. Yep. So in order for it to stand vertically, you got to pay an extra $30. And then if you do want a disk drive in the digital one, you can pay an extra $80. But it already costs $50 more than the original digital.
Yeah, so it almost makes the digital one useless to get. You know, it's because it's like it's going to cost you more overall. Like it
you have to 100% be sure that everything you're doing is digital to get that one.
It just seems so odd. I think the only thing that's like a bonus maybe is the extra 100 gigs or something, 150 gigs.
Yeah.
Going into the storage. Other than that, it's just smaller or slimmer.
But now you don't need those gigs because we're not gonna have Call of Duty, so there's really no reason for all that extra space.
Well, they'll get Call of Duty for a little bit of time, I guess. Yeah, but I mean, I don't think they didn't officially call it this, but this is probably the Slim model. Because remember, there was rumors there was going to be a Slim and a Pro.
Yeah, everyone's calling it the PS5 Slim.
Yeah, so there might also be a Pro at some point. And then I don't know what the specs are going to be, but I'm pretty sure if they're nickel and diming you here, they're going to nickel and dime you on that Pro for sure.
Absolutely.
They're going to give you the real PlayStation price that they wanted to give you on that Pro. Within reason. We'll see. I imagine that one probably will be $600, and that will be the actual mid-gen refresh. But the thing that stood out to me is that this one is supposed to replace the bigger one altogether. And I don't know if that really confirms it, but does that confirm that one was like the Band-Aid model? Like I
guess so.
Because before, at one point, I remember there was a YouTuber, I think his name is Austin Evans. He was a really, really big YouTuber. PlayStation at one point had some PS5s where they had different material on the inside of it, right? And he came out with this video, said the new PlayStation is worse, and it sent the fanboys in a frenzy, and it was just crazy. And all he did was just tear down like one of the older ones, and like the heat sinks was slightly smaller, the fan was different, that kind of thing. But I think the temperature of the system was like 1 degree hotter or something like that. The heat that it was emitting out of the system. And so technically on paper you could say it was worse, but it wasn't that much bad, I guess. But it was just PlayStation attempting to use, like, I guess, cheaper parts or something, I guess. But he made that video and everybody went crazy, and I remember it was a thing for a few weeks. But I think this particular one is probably their condensed down version of what they really, really wanted, but now they got the cheapest parts. But at the same time, they're charging more. And we also see that, like, in the UK, I believe, ironically, because this is what Jim Ryan's territory, they're still charging the $50 more on the disc version, right? So that one should be $549.99. But I mean, if you really look at this, they found a way to try to squeeze that extra money out of you, like, anyway, because they made the stands sold separately. And so if you were somebody who probably could not get a PS5 this whole time because of all of the stuff going on, and you were probably like how I was initially, where you're like, if I can't get it in the store, I'm not getting it yet. It's like, well, now you're in a situation where you got to get this new model that has cheaper parts in it, probably, and then you don't get the full version that maybe a friend of yours got who was able to get it, right? Like, you don't get the stand with it. Dang. So you're now, by default, is going to spend more money because you're most likely going to buy that stand. The PlayStation 5 has always been marketed to be vertical. Like, even though you could make it, horizontal, everybody made it vertical. Yep. And so, yeah. So I guess I could go on record in saying, I'll let you talk about this in a second. I do want to mention, I guess I was wrong about predicting that if this is the refresh, we don't know what the Pro model might be, but I remember saying when they do it, they were not going to have the disc model anymore. So I guess I was wrong on that.
So I actually saw a thing that said they don't think, like, it was some, I can't remember which company said it. Mm-hmm. It was some company, like a high up company, either something where it's like they're a name in the video game industry, or it might be something where they're just a name and everything, like just a high up company. But they were like, they don't think disc is going away ever because there's too much of a collectibles market. They said that because of that, it might be less and less like produced, but they feel like for everything that's like a bigger game, so something on like a Spider-Man 2 level or things like that, there will always be a disc option available because there's going to be people who are collectors for it. They wouldn't be surprised if it starts doing like, everything's like the digital edition is like 70 and that's the normal stuff. And the collector's editions are the ones that start coming with disc. But they think that disc are always going to remain.
We'll see. That's going to lead into my next topic, though. But we'll come back to that thought. But overall, how you feel about this PS5? Do you feel like you because we talked about before that you always wanted to wait for a collector-ish, or not collectors, but a special edition version of a system, but then you always get it before you get the special edition. Yep. Do you feel like this was a good idea? I just want to ask, I'm sorry, do you feel like you made the right decision of getting yours first before being stuck having to get maybe this version?
Yes and no. So where I feel like I don't feel like I'm missing out on like a collector's edition version of something just because of how long I've had it. Like when I said I used to miss it, I would get the system and then 4 to 6 months later is when the new one or the like special edition looking one would come out. Like that's how close I was to like if I would have just waited a little bit longer, right? Where I had this one for a significant amount of time that I feel okay about. Where I do regret it is I still feel like by when I got it, there wasn't like a reason to have it.
Like it was just like the FOMO, I guess, right? Like I think that's where a lot of people, like eBay was crazy. At one point, this thing was like $1,200 on eBay, which was just way too much for for what you get, you know.
Uh-huh.
The one
And
thing I
like,
do question though about PlayStation with this is the thing I was saying before, like the console covers. I was like, why are the console covers not in the stores? Maybe
yeah,
this might answer that question a little bit. But they just recently in that last show, like they introduced their new console covers. It was like three of them. That I think they called like the Revolution or something. And it was like it came with the controller as well, or the controller I think is separate, but it had like the matching color controller, where it was just like, here's this blue, here's this like silver one too, I
oh
think.
yeah, red.
Yeah, and I'm just like, that was with the older model. And I'm like,
Yep.
you just kind of came out with that, and I'm like, well, now you're at the same time, like only a few weeks later, telling us you're gonna discontinue that model when you
Yep.
just you just put this out there. And I'm just like, well, what are we talking about here? And so that would also mean that all the other console covers is probably going to, like, they're not going to produce as many. Maybe
Yeah.
you might have to go to third party to get some later down the line if you wanted to, because I told myself, I was like, I don't really want to change it until we get to the mid-gen, when I can make it look like it's a different console just my own way, and maybe change a theme on the inside when they start doing themes.
Uh-huh.
But it seemed like, well, that may not ever go in stores, and this is probably one of the reasons why. And they kind of hit the reset button on it too, right? Because the new PS5s are going to be default white, and there was no mention of any console cover for those at all. It was just it's just default white again. And yeah, but I'm sorry I cut you off. What were you gonna say?
I don't know. Oh,
Yeah.
it was part of that like fear of missing out, but also I had said that I wouldn't pick it up until I can get it in the store. And then GameStop called me and was like, it's in the store.
Right.
But my issue too is like even now, it would still be waiting to hear if it's in the store because it's not on the shelf. So I don't feel as bad, even though it was
Yeah.
just like I didn't feel like there was enough out for it. It still would have been in the case of like still kind of a missing out sort of thing because like it's still not on the shelves. So I don't know. It's just I don't know what they're doing. I'm sick of this like
Because
consumers.
here's my thing. I think you just bought it out for a second. I don't know. But here's my thing though. So the systems came out in 2020 November. It took them almost 3 years now, as crazy as it might seem, to get to the point where the average person probably can get it. Is just a little bit of a reservation there. You might have to call somebody, leave a contact for them to contact you, you know, some sort of like availability thing. Like at one point, PlayStation was emailing people saying you are eligible to buy this, which was kind of absurd in itself. But it's like, do we know if this one's going to be available, or are we going to have a scalping situation again? Maybe not at the highest degree, but maybe just a little bit. And
Of course.
are we going to restart this cycle where now it's going to take another 3 years for this one to be more available, and then like that's the one that's not going to be in stores, and they somehow not get their system in stores for like 6 years in the generation? You know, is that going to be a situation? Because that's the big thing that I'm looking at. And then on top of it, you like adjusted for inflation, maybe, quote unquote, you know, it's more now for the whole package. It's costing you more, you know, where before it would have been just $500, $520 something with tax. And then you would have been out the door, but I got to buy the stand or some sort of like add-on attachment to do the disk drive at some point if I really don't want to like pay them the extra for the digital front. I don't know. It's all over the place now. It's all over the place. It's quite literally everywhere but in the store. It's like all over the place but not in the store yet. That's my whole thing.
Yep.
But yeah, do you think this is a situation from the fan base similar to Switch when they say here's the OLED, and it was like initially this underwhelming feeling like, Where's the Pro? I don't know.
Oh, yes. Partly, mainly for those that like already got it, and I think for
Yeah.
those who don't already have it, all is really they're gonna be looking at is I gotta pay more. Like that's all it feels like to me is just I gotta pay more.
Yeah. I I think people understand a Pro is probably coming. Um I was 100% certain that they were not going to have a disc version, and I thought that the Xbox leak of their all digital Series X kind of confirmed it to me, because I was like, if they're going to have this, then most likely PlayStation's going to do the same thing, and there might not be an official mid-gen, because it's like, how much more better can it be? You know what I mean? Because I think we definitely hit a plateau when it comes to like resolution and stuff. I don't think they're gonna be able to give you this true 8K machine. Like, they put it on the box, but it's quite literally not there. Like, a whole bunch of games don't even have an 8K mode. Like,
Right, I'm saying like they can't do it right now.
like, so far we haven't had no, especially AAA game like say here's your 8K mode. I don't think we have any. But yeah, so this thing exists. It's gonna nickel and dime you out of about $40 to $80 depending on what you're doing. Yeah, I guess so. Is here. I don't know what else we can say about it. I do think if anybody really wants the complete package without having to spend more, you might want to consider calling one of your local places now to see if you can get a PS5 disc version of the ones that's out right now, just so you ain't got to spend more on a stand. That's about it. Other than that, I do think this is the system that they wanted to put out all along, because now it does look like it's at a proper size. But yeah, I'm really just concerned about if it's going to be in the stores the way it should be. I would want this to hit the storefront, and it's to the point where you walk into a regular store that sells electronics and it's just there. I don't got to ask for it. It's not hiding in the back. It's not linked to some sort of absurd bundle that costs $900 or something stupid like that. It's just simply there, and I can just buy it. Or I can even, like, have somebody like open the gate and put it in my cart kind of thing too. Like, I just want it to be a regular thing, because I think it's going to be a huge issue if all of a sudden we repeat the last 2.5 to 3 years. Like, that's not going to work. I'm really hoping that's not going to be a thing. Technically, on the Xbox side, they did already put out somewhat of a revision of the Series S, where it's black and it has a full terabyte SSD in it, and I think that was the only change on that end. And then they had their leak of the system because of the court case with the Activision deal, of the Series X being like a cylinder shape, I guess, and everybody was talking about that at one point because they were revamping the controller a little bit, which I was interested to see how that's going to work. But that was supposed to be all digital. I'm really hoping that they don't phase out the regular Series X, because I really like the Series X the way it is, and I think disc-based systems do need to still keep coming out. But at least out of all of this, the PS5 does have a disc model. It would have been way worse on them if they had announced this without the disc model and it was the digital model. That would have been way worse. And they say, oh, they're phasing it out. Oh my God. Right. But they were smart on it. They didn't do that. I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen with PlayStation going forward. Post Jim Ryan. Jim Ryan is on a like limited time clock right now of like I think once the winter is over, Jim Ryan is over apparently. So I would like to see what's going to happen, with this new system. Maybe we'll have some new ideas, maybe some new changes. We'll see. but we can probably move on. I want to go back to something that you said, because this is one of the last topics that's a hidden topic that I had that's probably a little bit more serious. That is kind of a breaking news thing. But you mentioned that physical media and disc media is going to keep going on because of collectors, right? This is going to go into the next topic. I hate that we would have to have this as a topic, but this is important. It's not affecting gaming yet, but I think it will. But apparently it just came out that Walmart and Best Buy have announced that with the start of 2024, they're going to stop selling physical media. This is going to include DVDs and Blu-rays of movies, and I believe in the music space as well, CDs.
Whoa.
They did say, though, that the gaming space is going to go on for now. But I'm thinking by the end of 2024, it's possible that might follow suit. But starting in the beginning, when you go in there and you see all those big, like for Walmart, those big $5 bins of all the movies and stuff. I remember I showed you a picture. I was like, didn't we just see this in theaters? Like, this was just in theaters 3-4 months ago. It's like all those stuff and like all of the other storefronts, they're getting rid of that whole section apparently. Like that, they're expecting that to go.
What kind of sucks is when you think about the DVDs and movies, because of streaming.
Yes.
They're always like full, right? It's just packed with DVDs and movies. So I understand their end of it. I was just like, ain't nobody buying these, so why would we keep putting them up? It does suck for the people who do go out and buy these.
Yes.
I need there to still, even if it's like through, I don't know, Amazon or something, there has to be a way to be able to get the physical media. It just sucks that is losing it there.
I think we will still have a Remnant 2 situation where you'll be able to buy it online, but it's going to be very difficult to find this in the stores.
Yeah.
And that's probably where we get to the point where like we get to the gaming situation, because gaming probably will follow suit. Now, what's funny about it is gaming is being forced in this direction. Like what you said before, like there are still a lot of collectors who want to collect. I don't know how many people is collecting on the movie front, but definitely in the gaming space, this is a very healthy, alive like thing. People, they do what they call like game hunts, where they literally drive all day to all their favorite mom and pop places. It's like a part of the thrill of it. Like they don't even buy it online. They're trying to find a deal, you know, out and about, and they know they're buying stuff used and stuff as well. But like that's still a thing for physical gaming. But I mean, the DVD section was right next door to the gaming section in Walmart, especially. So I don't know. But it sounds like as far as like movies, if you were somebody who really bought movies, like you quite literally have a little over a month and a half. Like after the holiday season, that's it. They'll probably still have whatever's in there, but they're not restocking and they're not going to put anything new, is what they're saying. It's interesting with Best Buy, because Best Buy, all they do is sell electronics and stuff. So I'm like, if that's the case, they might actually go a little step further and stop selling the DVD, Blu-ray players, the 4K players. They might stop doing all that as well. But that's what's happening. That is what's happening. I still try to buy my games physical if I can. It was a little bit of a headache with the Remnant 2. We might have been the only ones to talk about that, unfortunately, but it was a little bit of a headache doing that. But yeah, that's what's gonna happen. I don't know, but I gotta say, I will admit, I don't really buy actual movies and, let's say, music on disc. I will admit.
So
I don't.
I will admit I don't buy music on disc anymore. And for movies, I don't buy movies on disc. I do sometimes still buy. I haven't done it in years. But like collections of like TV series.
Mm-hmm.
So like I have the first like 6 or 7, however many there was, like -3 seasons of Big Bang Theory. I just need to get the remaining few.
Yes.
I have all of Smallville on like DVD and all of Heroes on DVD. And there was a few other series that I didn't want to get like on DVD just that like because I just want to own it. It's
Yeah.
just I don't have any room. I already collect a bunch of Funkos, so I was like waiting to like do this. So there is some things that I still want to complete. I just don't know. I guess I just won't plan on anything in the future doing that. I did also eventually want to do a deal. This was going to be expensive, but I was going to slowly try and build this DC Comics animated movie like physical collection
Mm-hmm.
of a bunch of them and just have that. That probably is now going to be a little bit harder to do, but it does kind of suck that like as again collector, there's certain things that I just want to have, but I guess I'm not too torn up with the music and movie one. I will be torn up for the video game one, but not so much the other two.
So the video game one I don't like because they're forcing it. They're trying their hardest to
That
force
too.
it.
People weren't really moving that way, but
Yeah, where the movies it was just kind of trailing along, and it's like, well, if everybody's kind of doing, then we'll stop doing it. Where gaming, it's a whole nother thing because there's so much greed in the companies trying to cut the middleman out and trying to cut out these crazy sales that we get. That they're trying to force it every little way that they can. They cut out the manuals last generation, right? And then this generation is when we're starting to see collector's editions not even have the physical game, which is the most silliest thing as it is. And then now we're starting to see some of the smaller games not even get released in the stores. And yeah, and then we're moving forward like the stores just not wanting to host it at all. Because probably on the movie front, they're not going to print like movies physical once that happens. Not as many of them. And that's the direction that the gaming space wants to go. They don't want to print anything. And when you look at places like Limited Run, they will print physical copies for like some of those indie games that's on the storefront. And when they're printing it, it's like full price. Where if you went on the storefront, them games be like $5, $9 or something. And it's like, I don't want a situation where it's like, oh, you know, that one person who still wants it, you got to pay like 3-4 times the price.
That's what I don't like. Like, to give a better example of that just directly, in store, WWE 2K20, 22, 23, and 19, I think are all still full priced.
Yeah, and that will happen too, like, where they're just taking advantage because they can.
Or even like sports games do that. Like I looked, last year's Madden is still full priced. And things like that. Like it's just that is what I don't like. It's they're making it into like a place where you can't get a deal unless they're the ones that directly give it to you.
All I gotta say is this.
I don't want GameStop to go away as well. I like GameStop. I like it being there. I don't want it to just become a collector's store for like figurines and stuff. But like they need to stop with the digital thing. Like I don't know, like straight up, if they start like forcing it to where GameStop sells digital codes, because they can't do anything, I will specifically only get digital codes from GameStop because I don't want it to go. Like I like it there.
I think GameStop has the rest of this generation and like half of next generation in them. I don't know how much farther they'll last. Maybe they might last the full next generation, but with the industry forcing it, it might not be that much longer. If they weren't forcing it, they would last probably a little bit longer, but they're forcing it. But the thing I gotta always mention this before we move on. Like, you're not gonna be able to force people to just pay you. Like, If y'all start making it so much, so egregious, they're just gonna turn to piracy. Anybody who's being forced to PC is gonna turn to piracy. They just are. They're not gonna admit it. Of course, they're not gonna admit it.
Nope.
But they're gonna do it. And de novo's not gonna change it. It's just not. It's not gonna change it. The online checks is not gonna change it. They will always find a way. They will always find a way. Just look at everything else. If you wanted to, you don't have to pay for nothing else that's available online. They will always find a way. So be careful what you're doing. That's all I got to say. Last topic, not really a topic, just wanted to mention October is a huge gaming month. Lot of different releases. I think we was mentioned before, my co-host is going to buy Spider-Man Day 1. I said I was going to buy or Spider-Man 2, and then I was going to buy Super Mario Wonder. The main reason why I'm getting this is because I wanted to use up my GameStop membership, $5 off, plus some of the other stuff that I've accumulated because I bought a bunch of Power Ranger figures. And then on top of that, so much other stuff is coming out at the same time. It's really bigger than that February month of 2022 when Elden Ring came out, Sifu, Horizon, Forbidden West, and I believe the parkour game that was first person. I can't even think of it right now, but they said it had like 500 hours in it. What was the name of that game?
Ghost Runner?
No, not Ghost Runner. It was something. It was
Mirror's Edge.
It was what?
Mirror's Edge, Titanfall.
No, it wasn't that either. I'll know.
So what was it about again? So describe it to me again.
It was like a parkour-ish games that was first person.
Zombies? With zombies?
Yeah, it has zombies.
Dying Light 2?
Dying Light 2, that's what it was. And it was like, it'd take you 500 hours plus to do the 100%. Like, it was so many games at that point. Well, for this month, I didn't have everything written down, but I wrote down enough as it is. It's still very stacked. So what came out already? Assassin's Creed Mirage came out. Mixed reviews there. I didn't know that was $50. I thought they was gonna probably charge full price. They charged only $50 for it, but it's mixed reviews there. The hardcore don't like it as much. Everybody else is fine with it, but that came out already. Forza Motorsport came out already. Lords of the Fallen just now came out. I think Forza Motorsport was like on the 10th or something.
Also, we're saying it wrong. It's the Lords of the Fallen. Lords of the Fallen was the old one. The Lords of the Fallen is the new one.
All right. Well, my apologies to the hardcore Souls players out there. Big co-op experience that I look to play at some point. Yes. But those are the ones that came out, right? So, like we said before, Spider-Man 2 and Super Mario Wonder is supposed to come out on the same day, October 20th, I believe. Head to head. Which one's gonna sell more? I don't know. But they're both coming out at the same time. We cannot forget about the other big game that's coming out right around that time. I don't think it's the same day, but Sonic Superstars is also coming out. Yes, and then Alan Wake 2 is also in this window. I think it's a week later. Yes.
Monday stacked. Or Monday, October stacked.
Ghost Runners 2 is also coming out in this time frame. The fan favorite, we all know how much people love this game, especially during the pandemic. City Skylines 2 is also coming out around this time. The Metal Gear Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1 is coming out. Keyword Volume 1. So they're going to probably have some more going on with that. But that is also coming out right around this time, man. Stacked. Very stacked. You think I'm done? I am not done. UFC 5. Now that's the game, right? UFC 5 is also coming out this month. Sleeper hit. Think that's gonna be a hidden gem? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Probably not. We don't know. You know what would be interesting? You wonder. You think they might have like some sort of crossover thing going for somebody with a brain over there? Will say, hey, let's combine the UFC and WWE game, like kind of make it a 2-disc thing or something. You know?
They're never gonna do that.
Because neither one of them. Yeah.
At most, it would like during like Black Friday, it'll be the whole you can get both for 60 or something like that.
Yeah, but I mean like it's in the same game almost.
No,
like,
they're not going to do that at all. I guarantee. They're not going to do that.
Well, I wish. Unfortunately, shout out to Fire Pro Wrestling. They did something similar to Fire Pro Wrestling, but unfortunately, you ain't gonna see that with the officials. But yes, you think I'm done? I am not done. Silent Hill, the mobile game. Remember, they have more than one game. The mobile game is coming out, man. This is the one you're really waiting for, right? You gonna play this mobile Silent Hill game? You can play it right on your phone. No? Oh man, you missing out. You missing out. And last but not least, I could not leave this one out. Are you ready for this, man? Are you ready for this? The last game that I wrote down, there's still more out there if y'all go check, but Skull Island Rise of Kong is coming out in October as well. Are you excited?
Didn't that game look horrible? Like, I remember, like, I was thinking about it, and I remember that game looking like a, it looked like an early, like, PS2 game before they figured out what they were doing. Like, that's,
yeah, man.
that thing where, to be honest, there was some PS2 games that looked better than it. But that's cool. That's good for them.
Yeah, man. A lot of big releases this month. This is like the unofficial Christmas or something. I don't know what's going on here. But a lot of big stuff right before Black Friday. That might bite some of these in the butt a little bit. Right before Black Friday. Probably should have did this afterwards. But hey, some of these might be on sale, you know.
I'm happy they did it before because some of them might hit the sale for Black Friday, and that's when I'll pick it up. Yeah,
Skull Island clearly gonna blow everything else away. Don't even worry about the rest of it. But speaking of Skull Island, I guess you sent me a trailer. I guess I can speak on it briefly right before we get out of here. So there's another Godzilla movie. I was very interested in. I'm very interested in the franchise, but I was a little bit confused because they did not put Godzilla name in the actual movie. Like, I think it's Monarch the Monster.
Oh, it's a TV series.
Oh, that's the TV series?
It's a TV series. Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. But the reason why they're not putting Godzilla's name in it is because now Monarch covers both Godzilla and Kong and Mothra and any other monsters like that they want to do in this universe.
Okay.
So I think Monarch is supposed to be the name of the universe now because that's the name of the people. Like, that's
okay, so this is not connected to the epic Godzilla and Kong team up to face whoever else.
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
this is part of that. This is that universe. So basically, yeah, Godzilla.
But I'm sorry, what I meant is not the movie though. It's not the actual movie. This is a whole TV show.
A series. It's it's like a sequel. Like it's all in the same universe. So basically,
right.
The Godzilla that appears in this is post Godzilla Kong fight. Like, that's like all of this is the same universe. I'm sure whatever happens in this series will relate to whatever movie comes out next for the Godzilla Kong. Like, whatever's going to happen next, some of the characters of this series are going to be in that movie. Like,
so they're quite literally still following the MCU in a way, to the point where they didn't pull out a TV show.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, here's my thing. So at first I was like complaining, but then my brother put it in perspective. And if they do this, I'll be a little more okay with it. My thought process was the worst part of the movies for me is how much focus on the people, right? When they keep focusing on just what the people are doing.
Yeah, instead of the extra focus because that
and now they're
CGI
making a
costs
TV
money.
series. Yeah, now they're making a TV series that's all about the people. And it's just like, however, he said, what if the TV series takes up the time talking about the people, so then when the next movie comes out, it's just focused on the monsters?
I guess. Well, you know, maybe it comes full circle, because if you can't afford to pay the people, then we can cut the people out, and then we can only do monsters. We can only do AI. We can It works in this movie. It don't work in everything else, but I guess here it works.
Yeah, all of this is all in that group. So it's just you have to like in order to understand this, you had to have seen Godzilla versus Kong. Like
okay.
Otherwise it won't make sense.
Well, I'm caught up. So I think everybody else you got it caught up.
That after the battle between Godzilla and the Titan.
Okay.
Revealing that monsters are real. So it might be right before Godzilla vs. Kong.
Well, people, don't forget, you got to play this Skull Island Rise of Kong before you do any of this. Because that was at the beginning, right? Skull Island, that was like way back in the timeline. You got to play this game in order to understand all that. So,
there's going to be a character exclusive to the game that appears in the series.
You got to play. All right, I guess that wraps it up.
Real quick. I have one more topic because it was breaking news. I just saw it.
Breaking.
Switch had an update, and it was a really minor update that didn't like really require much. However, all it did was just ban a few more words. So,
oh my god.
Thought and like R-E-E-E-E, which is used. That's like how you spell anger, I guess, when you're trying to say you're screaming.
What?
So R-E-E-E-E, and like apparently in some chats, that's what I just looked up. They said when people are supposed to be mad, that's like what you type. So it's that and thought and a few other words have all now been banned. So I guess Nintendo has a chat thing that you can't use them in, but also if thought was in your username, you're gonna be asked to change your username. Now,
okay, like first of all, because now I gotta bury them a little bit. You don't have party chat, Nintendo. Where is the party chat? First of all, for any like where is that's what you should be focusing on. But you over here messing with the text chat, like no, focus on the party chat. That Switch 2, no matter how underpowered it is, it better have party chat. It better have party chat. It better have Ethernet. You better not sit here and pull out a bare bones system. That's for sure. You know what I mean? We can get out of here. We can get out of here. All right. Maybe we can talk about this next time because this ain't really. We kind of ran out of time, but I really wonder how this news about physical media being forced out of the stores is going to affect Nintendo. Because Nintendo wasn't trying to force people out of physical media.
Well, I will say as of now, video games are, like they've confirmed that video games will still be there. It's just movies and music.
All right. Yeah, that's what they're saying for now. We're going to see how long, but that's all I got for you here. Leave a like on this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for anybody who's made it this far. Thank you for anybody who's watching that little solo video I put out. It didn't take that long for me to do that. I was able to record, edit, upload within the same night. Actually, I ain't bragging. I'm just saying, like, listen, for somebody who took like 2/3 of the year off and came back, like, yo, I did it really quick. So I'm still working on the lighting. I still don't like the lighting in that one, but I just put it together because I wanted to talk about that topic because it was a big deal to me. But I was supposed to record 3 videos in one. I recorded that one and stopped and went and got that nasty ghost Whopper from Burger King, which I probably shouldn't have done.
Wasn't good?
No, and I'll talk to you more about it afterwards. But yeah, I want to make a video. That probably is going to be entitled PlayStation After Jim Ryan, and then I wanted to make a video about the future of Nintendo involving Switch 2. Those are the main 2 ones, more talking similar to what I just did. And then afterwards, I'll give you all the creative stuff I used to do before with all the B-roll. I'm going to seek out all of the, indie games, spread some awareness, and just try to come back, man. That's it. Let's just try to come back. But yeah, that's all I got for you here. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next time. Peace.